All right, I've been meaning to talk about this for a couple of weeks now, or however long it's been since the episode's aired. But I want to talk a little bit about Empire of Death, or Legend of Ruby Sunday plus Empire of Death, how you want to talk about it, this finale of the most recent season of Doctor Who. And I didn't think it was very good, right? And I've been seeing a lot of stuff that's out there that's like, oh, every Russell T Davies finale is like this, or stuff like, you must be new to Russell T Davies series or finales. And honestly, I think that kind of does a lot to undersell what Russell T Davies used to do with the finales in his original run, you know, from 2005 to through to 2000 and end of 2010, right? Or whatever it was. And I guess sort of the story arcs that he does sort of in general, right? And I think the Empire of Death was different to those previous finales for two big reasons. So I kind of want to talk about those two big reasons and compare and contrast it with some of the previous, you know, RTD finales we got back in his original run with the show back in starting in 2005, right? So the first reason I'd give would be the lack of resolution in Empire of Death. Say what you want about series 1 through 4 of the revival, but they did all wrap up their central mysteries, right? First year, we found out what the words, why the words Bad Wolf kept appearing, right? Year 2, we learned what Torchwood was. Year 3, we found out who Mr. Saxon is, right? Year 4, we discovered where the missing planets went, plus the stuff with the bees as well, right? In fact, I'd go as far to say that if you look across that entire era, there was only one unsolved mystery from the entirety of the original Russell T Davies run, and that was the woman played by Claire Bloom, who appeared in the End of Time, right? That woman who's appearing in the End of Time, who was communicating with Wilfred Marr, and, you know, showed her face at the end. She was in the you know, the weeping angel pose with Rassilon, and then, like, you know, had that sort of moment with the Doctor and all that sort of thing. So across like 60 episodes or whatever, and those 4 seasons and the specials, that's the only loose thread to my recollection. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's because I haven't really watched these since they aired and I was like a child, right? But I think that is like literally the only thing, and I think it's obvious in watching it, and also if you do, like, you know, dive into any of the like supplementary materials, like his book or the confidentials or whatever, it's, and I don't think you even mean that. I think it's like, it's obvious by design that that is like meant to be intentionally vague, of like, is this his mom? Is it Susan? I think they're pointing at it being his mom, but irrelevant, right? Irrelevant. And maybe in the new era they'll actually address it. I don't know. Now, after 9 episodes of the new era, right? So I'm discounting the 60th specials here, right? What have we got? We've got, I mean, obviously, okay, I'm okay with saying that, like, Mrs. Flood's identity and who the boss is are being saved for another day. Okay, that's, like, fine, right? But things that, like, I think are fine, are reasonable expectations to be kind of resolved in Empire of Death were, how can Ruby just sort of, like, sorry, I keep scratching myself, man. How can Ruby just, like, conjure up snow and music? How's that happening? Why couldn't Sutek learn her mom's identity? what's Ruby's hidden song about? Why did the memory progressively change? And why was the memory shadowed? Now, that list isn't even comprehensive. Yeah, because again, I'm not like digging super deep in these things. I watch these episodes once, you know, I do think about them, they do ruminate in my head, but like that list is not comprehensive. I'm sure if I wanted to, I could go add more things to it. I'm kind of confident that. Maybe I'm wrong. But just looking at my list that I've given there, I think it, like, fair enough if you can, like, sort of headcanon these mysteries away, which I've seen people doing, right? Okay. But, you know, claiming that, like, oh, well, you know, there's a bunch of loose threads here, there's a bunch of things which are unanswered, and that's just, like, a thing that happens with Russell T Davies. Like, Russell T Davies, like, always left threads of this nature sort of hanging is, like, uncategorically true. In fact, we often resolve these mysteries before the last episode, and in the last like, so the mysteries are resolved, and in the last episode, it's actually, like, the solution and the action and the emotion and the character interactions to the resolved mystery, right? See Torchwood. Okay, sort of an example. So that's my reason one, that this one's way different than previous finales we've had before. Reason two, I would say, and for me, this is the episode sort of silver bullet and, like, crux of why it doesn't work. You know, why Empire of Death, I think, as an episode just, like, kind of fails in its function, is there's no journey for the Doctor and Ruby. Or there's no journey for the Doctor or Ruby, right? You get to that moment where, you know, like, it's you know, the kind of the cold open, the whatever, the blah blah blah, the reaction to everything that, you know, started in your cliffhanger ending of the previous episode, right? And you end up in this situation where the Doctor is defeated, creation is dying, and he screams out into the void. And you cut to black. And then the next time we see him, he's just, like, searching for some metal on a world and stops Sutek. Like, I don't know. Like, you get the Doctor going from this all is lost moment to stopping Sutek. And it's dealt with it's, like, that journey, that transition is dealt with during a cut to black. There's no journey for the audience to watch and be involved in. There's no character arc for him to undergo, or external force to break him out of his self-doubt. It all happens, like, in this, like, cut to black time skip off screen. I think it's incredibly unsatisfying, and I think it's incredibly boring, because the it's just, like, it's driven by plot. It's just like, oh, like, the world is destroyed by Sutek, and now the Doctor is with the powers to stop Sutek. It's like, okay, it's like information, it's like description, it's like a Wikipedia article plot. You know? For me, it's not good enough. Then for me, the same thing goes for Ruby. Her and the Doctor concoct that plan to trick Sutek, again, off screen. And Ruby gets in close by teasing her mother's identity. This was part of the plan, right? So it's not like Ruby independently made a decision to save the Doctor and, like, puts the rope on. And that's all Ruby does. So, like, Ruby doesn't do anything. Like, Ruby has, like, she just, like, follows a plan which is made by the Doctor off screen. You know, it's not like her agency, or, like, you know, like when Rose in Doomsday makes the decision, like, I'm gonna stay back and I'm gonna pull the lever. That's like Rose doing that stuff. Or Rose in, you know, Parting of the Ways, where, like, she breaks into the time vortex and she, you know, becomes the bad wolf. There's actually sort of, like, it's clearly unintentional, but there is sort of some, like, interesting sort of, like, you know, getting back into headcanon, like sort of like retcon you can make to that story. She looks in the heart of the TARDIS and she sees the bad wolf, and she turns everything into dust. And Sutak's been wrapped around the TARDIS, the bad wolf, and turns everything. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Whatever. So, going back to what I'm talking about, of kind of there being no journey for the Doctor or Ruby here, right? There's just no conflict to be found between the Doctor and Ruby either. There's no journey being undertaken by the characters that causes them to win, right? The Doctor gets sad, gets unsad off screen during a cut to black, and then just enacts a plan to beat the greatest monster ever fought. And that's a quote. The greatest monster ever fought. There's like nothing here. It's absolute vapor, right? So let's kind of like compare and contrast this a bit more to the original 2001 run, right? Parting of the Ways. Nine gives up and sends Rose home. But because of the values he instilled in her, and, you know, most of the supporting cast in that season, Rose fights her way back to the Doctor through her will and saves him. Almost costing her life, which then Nine trades for hers. Right? So there's conflict within the characters. The journey is seen. Right? There is also stakes, and there is also loss, and there is also sort of consequence for the actions. Alright? We'll get to that when we talk about Journey's End. We'll get to that. Doomsday, right? 10 does quickly come with the plan to defeat the Daleks and the Cybermen, but he has to banish Rose and her family to Pete's will to do it. Rose goes against his wishes, as I was talking about before, but the plan goes wrong, and she's saved by her father, who also, he didn't want her. If you remember that, he didn't want her. You know, he had that, like, she's your daughter, not mine thing. So there's growth and there's development, and there's moments happening with the supporting cast as well, right? So I don't even remember what's it even called. Sound of Drums, and I can't even remember. Whatever. But I'm not going to get into Series 3 and Series 4 finales that much, because it's getting long, and also I sort of can't remember, but trust me, man, right? But they each both did end with huge sacrifice, right? To go with their supposed victories. Like in the Series 3 one, right? The Doctor wins, but then the Master refuses to regenerate, and he dies, and the Doctor's crying. He's like, "You're leaving me all alone." And the Master's like, "Yeah, but look at it, I win," and this sort of thing. And then you've got the loss of Donna Noble. And then I recently listened to this thing of Russell T Davies saying, like, yeah, you gotta sacrifice something. You can't just have all the Doctor's friends all come together and pilot the TARDIS, and it's all fucking great, and then there's no consequence to any of it. You know? Dear. Sorry about that. So, when Empire of Death ends with Ruby starting a new adventure, but nothing is sacrificed, they win, they're happy, end credits. It's like Journey's End would not have been as effective. It would have actually been downright corny if the tragedy of Donna Noble didn't happen. It really would have been. So for me, I'm asking, like, where's the conflict? Where's the arcs? Where's the struggle? You can argue the Empire of Death works without them, and, like, I'll read those arguments. I'll hear them out, right? But this is a clear outlier for Russell T Davies finales, and I think because of that, Empire of Death is a much, much lesser finale than those that came before it. To kind of end on a few positive notes, I think one thing to talk about is a disappointing final payoff doesn't make the whole show bad. That's not what I'm saying here, although my wider thoughts on this new era may be dealt with another time. But I do think that, like, what he said to her in the TARDIS, where he's like, "I've shown you monsters and planets, legends, but this, honey, your adventure is just beginning." I thought that was a wonderful line, even though I don't really have a lot of connection between the Doctor and Ruby. And they don't actually mean a lot to me. I do think that was an absolutely wonderful line. I love the delivery. It was really sold, and it was really moving. because of that. I've got absolutely like no notes on that. I thought that was wonderful. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. This didn't feel like a Russell T Davies finale, but maybe because it's not been written that way as well. Because these two series, like series 1 and series 2 of this new like Disney Plus, Hooniverse, RTD2, whatever you want to call this new era, like they've been in production at the same time. Right? So I don't even know if like in-house it's kind of been felt. Like, even though these are going to, air in sequential years. Oh, I don't even know what the best word for that situation is. I'm fumbling now. But they've all been produced at bulk in once, and I'm wondering if just because they were all written together and they were all whatever together, it's kind of it's been tracked as one large block of episodes. I don't know. Just a thought for maybe why it is that way. Either way, I think this finale flops. I think it flops hard. But, who cares? It's just a TV show. We'll keep watching, whatever. Unless I really stop enjoying it, then I'm not going to watch it, because I just think that that's a complete waste of time, No hate here, just opinions. Just opinions I'm giving out there. I just think it's interesting to kind of compare what came before and what happened now. And it's really weird and really interesting that you had like a showrunner on a show for a long time. They left and then they came back. It's really weird. It's really, really weird. And it's interesting for the examination of how things have changed. If you liked this video or you got sort of, please let me know. If there's other TV shows or whatever you'd like to hear me talk about, please comment below. If you want to talk about Doctor Who, please comment below. This is obviously, I said it throughout this video, I will listen to those arguments, I will listen to those opinions, and I want to, right? I want to be a part of that conversation. That's why I'm adding, I'm contributing this as my part of the conversation. But I'll catch you all soon, and bye.